Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. I've been car shopping recently on Auto Trader. I spend most of my evenings on Auto Trader, and it seems that 98% of people don't know how to sell the car privately. I've seen lots of really poor car adverts recently. Now it might be obvious to me because I've done this job for 15 years, but it might not be obvious for everybody. So I thought today I'd give you some pointers. Let me have a quick look on Auto Trader then, and I'll try and find some bad ones, just as an example. Right, so I'm going to go to Auto Trader then, and I'm going to scroll down to the seller type, private and trade, and we'll just look at private sellers. Now there are 47,000 private sellers. Got to be a few bad ones here I can use as an example. The first tip then really, now this might seem glaringly obvious, but looking at some of the car adverts I've seen, it mustn't be that obvious. Clean your car. Every town in the UK has got a hand car wash, so you leave it with them, £20 later, you go and pick up a nice clean car. That's if you can't be bothered to do it yourself. If you can be bothered to do it yourself, get the vacuum cleaner out and the window cleaner. Get your bucket of hot soapy water and your sponge and just spend a few hours cleaning it up. Look at this, look, for example. This is a VW Golf. Look at the pictures. Look at the interior of that. Who is buying that? We've got one shoe. Don't know why that's there. It's just dirt and filth everywhere. Nobody wants to buy a car looking like that. My next tip is take out all your personal things. So look at this one again, for example. We've got a shoe, water bottles, what looks like, I think, are they vapes? I don't vape, so I don't really know, but I think that they're vapes. Coins, wrappers, take it all out. You're trying to sell something neutral. Don't leave your own possessions in there. It just looks really messy and untidy, and that's not what you want. You want a blank canvas. Whoever's looking to buy this car, that's going to be their new car. You don't want to leave your own personal possessions in there. The next thing, this always makes me laugh. Don't cover your reg plate. Whoever's looking to buy it wants to do checks on it. They want to check the MOT history, they want an insurance quote, all that sort of stuff. What are you hoping to achieve by covering up the last 3 digits of your reg plate? You drive to the supermarket or whatever in that car with your reg plate on show, so everyone knows it anyway. The amount of car adverts that I see where someone's covered the reg plate or put a tea towel over it or a chamois or something, leave it alone. Now this actual car in question, this Subaru Outback, looks okay. The pictures are alright, it's fairly clean I suppose, but I wouldn't entertain that because I can't check it out. The first thing I'd like to do when I look at a car, I want to check it out, I want to check the MOT history, I want to make sure it hasn't been written or stolen or had a mileage rollback. By the way, if you want to do one of those checks, I always use a company called Car Vertical. Use my promo code HIGHPEAK and you get 10% off each and every vehicle check that you do. That will tell you if it's ever been stolen, written off, had a mileage rollback, or been involved in a recorded accident. I'll leave a link below the video description. Quick recap for you then. Clean your car, remove your personal possessions, and don't bother covering up the reg plates. The next thing you need to do, and this is a really important one, take some nice photographs. Everybody's got a smartphone these days with a good camera on it, so take it somewhere nice and scenic and take some good photographs. Don't do it in your local Aldi car park. Don't do it like this guy's done and used the backdrop of some scruffy shipping containers. It just looks odd. Use your own driveway, or I don't know, some sort of country park. The UK is full of nice scenic places. Take it somewhere picturesque. I'm now, by the way, on page 7 of Auto Trader, and I haven't seen a good example of how to sell your car privately yet. Also, maybe when you're taking your photographs, maybe wait for some nice weather. I'm not entirely sure what the guy's doing with his arms there. Not sure. Weird pose that, isn't it? I mean, look at that for a car advert. Granted, it's only $6.99, so, you know, you don't expect the earth. But we've got one odd wheel, so presumably the spare is in the boot, or the original is in the boot, and that's the spare. Get the punch repair done and put the original alloy back on it. Move the wheelie bins out of the way. It just looks unloved. I wouldn't buy that. It's missing its wing mirror cover, for a start. They're about £20 on eBay. Oh. The spanner light's on. There are some suspicious stains on the passenger seat. That will just never sell. It just won't. What I'd recommend you do is take some nice photographs, like this for example. This one looks like quite a nice advert. So that should be your intro shot. That should be your first shot. Sort of a 3/4 shot of the car. That way you can see pretty much most of the car. We've got a nice background, nice dry stone wall. Lovely. That, in my opinion, is how you should advertise your car. The wheels are straight, that's another good tip for you. Don't leave the wheel on the opposite lock. It's alright for the opening shot if you want to get the full wheel on show like I do with mine, but don't leave it on the opposite lock because it just looks odd. Something else to point out, I can see there's only one key there. Now if it's got both keys, I would bunch them together and have them paired, so that when I'm looking at this I can say, oh yeah, there's two keys, another selling point. Something else to mention, don't have your dog sat in the passenger seat, or your wife or your boyfriend or whatever. It just looks odd. People are buying the car, not your pet. Also, some people don't like pets or are allergic to dogs or cats, whatever, so don't have them in the shot. Oh, we've got another offender here who's covered up his reg plate. Why? The car's filthy. It's got a big horrible Arnold Clark sticker on the back. They've covered up the reg plate. This is a good example of how not to sell your car. Oh, something else to watch out for. So, you can see the date there. This car has been for sale since the 2nd of July 23. So it obviously hasn't flown away, has it? Look at the dust on the speedo as well. Get a rag, clean it. It might take you a full day. It might take you a full day, but if you want extra money for your car, you need to put the effort in. No wonder that hasn't sold. Right, so quick recap then. You've cleaned your car, you've taken all your personal possessions out of it, you haven't covered the reg, and you've taken some nice photographs. Now what? Well, you need to write a nice detailed description of it. Now this really isn't rocket science. In fact, you could use something like ChatGPT or whatever it's called to create one for you. But just try and list all the good points and also all the bad points. I would just be as honest as possible with your description. Now look at this for example. I know with Autotrader you can have as many characters as you want, so you could really go to town with the description, but this seller hasn't bothered. So we've got some quite poor photographs of it. We can see more of the tarmac than the car, so that's not good, and there are only 4 pictures. I think you can have something like up to 25. It's missing its wing mirror cover there, there's a dent on the bonnet, the plates need replacing. That's never going to sell. It just will not sell. And if we go down to the description, now it'd be nice here to see something like, right, I've owned the car for 10 years, it's had a cam belt done, I've serviced it every year, I've never driven it over 55 miles an hour, all that sort of stuff. People want to read that, they want to know as much about the car as possible. And instead here we've got next MOT due December, blue, 3 owners, 1300. Now, as much as I don't like to give Autotrader credit because as a car dealer they charge me an extortionate amount of money, I have to concede they are the best place. They're the best place to sell your car. Now if you sell a car privately, I haven't done this for a long time, but it's about, I don't know, 60 quid or 80 quid. So it is quite expensive, but you'll be paying for a 6 or 8 week advert slot. So you're paying all that money to advertise your car, why not make the most of it? Why not get as many photographs on there as possible? Why not upload a video? Why not write a nice long-winded description of it rather than just that? Just can't get my head around it. Something else to mention with the description, spell check it. I hate to read an advert and the grammar's terrible or there's a spelling mistake. I just think it's poor really. And let's have it right, the only reason you're trying to sell your car privately is because you want more money for it, so put the extra effort in, spell check it. Maybe try and find a similar car that's for sale and maybe copy their advert or take points from their advert. It really isn't difficult. I know writing isn't everyone's forte, granted, but you could use something like Grammarly, for example. That'll help you out. Also, try and avoid phrases like fully loaded. Fully loaded, it isn't a gun, it's a Vauxhall Corsa. Why don't you list the features it's got rather than saying fully loaded? Plus, most people don't know what the options are, so rather than saying fully loaded, why don't you say it's got heated and ventilated seats, it's got a sunroof, it's got air conditioning. List them. You're trying to sell it at the end of the day, aren't you? Have a look at this one, for example, the attention grabber. So, here, this guy's chosen good runner. Okay, fine. This guy here has put, can do little bit negotiation. What does that even mean? In that attention grabber, why not list something that might actually help sell the car, like timing belt done 2 years ago, 12 months MOT, 2 keys, air conditioning's ice cold, things like that. Have a look at the description here, look. Clean car, no knock, bang, drives perfectly fine, come and check, you can get it checked by AA inspection. Just take it to eBay any car, I just give up at that point. Also, one more thing, if it's got a few little issues, try and fix them before you try and sell it. I read an advert the other day and it said something like, air conditioning doesn't work, just needs a regas. Well, get it gassed then. It's 50 quid, 60 quid. And then you can say the air conditioning works, rather than it just needs a regas. Well, you do it. I think you've got to remember, effort equals reward. So put a bit more effort in and you will get more money for it. Here's a good example actually. So with the attention grabber, full service history, plus match, which is the spec, plus rear view camera. Perfect. Now I know a bit more about the car. The photographs look okay. They've cleaned it at least. It's on a nice road. Everything looks quite presentable. The steering wheel's straight. We can see the tyres are good. It's quite clean. That really is all you can ask for. Here we go, this is a good example of a description. For sale is my lovely, very well looked after VW Golf TDI Match DSG Auto. Perfect. Fresh 12 months MOT, full service history with all stamps in the book. They've even listed how many VW main dealer stamps it's had. DSG gearbox service done, air conditioning regas, timing belt done, everything in perfect, what does it say? Everything in perfect working order, selling due to needing a bigger car. I've owned the car since June 2016, runs smoothly, mostly motorway mileage. That is how you try and sell a car properly. It isn't perfect, there's still a charger there, and there's somebody there, I think, helping this truck back into a spot. So it isn't perfect, but it's 9 out of 10 really for a private advert. The next thing you need to think about is the price. Now don't be too greedy. So a car will have a trade price and a retail price. So if you're going to pitch it privately, it needs to be somewhere between those two figures. So for example, if you're buying a brand new car, they might have offered you £3,000 for your car. On somebody's forecourt, retail, it might be worth £5,000. So if you're going to try and sell it privately, I would pitch that at maybe £3,750, £4,000, somewhere in between. If you try and be too greedy, no one's going to give you that money for it. Nobody's going to pay retail money for a car from somebody's driveway with no warranty, no facility to pay on a credit card, no finance facility, no comebacks whatsoever. Nobody will do that. That's quite a big mistake that I see lots of people make. They pitch the price too high. Then they don't sell it, obviously, because it's too expensive, and they end up taking a lowball bid from We Buy Any Car. I see it all the time. If only they just pitched the price properly, it'd sell. Whenever I've sold a car privately from my driveway, people always expect a bit of negotiation. For example, if you want £3,800 for your car, I'd put it on at £3,995 or £3,950. That way if someone comes to look, they feel like they're getting a deal at £3,800, you're still happy, everybody wins. When you're creating your advert, make sure the opening picture isn't that. Make sure the opening picture is that, so that you can actually see the car, not the dash. Doesn't make any sense to me, that. When you're taking your photographs, don't get too close. Like that, for example, I can't even work out what that is. I know they must like red because it's exactly the same colour as the house. See, I can't even see all of the car there. That's a complete waste of a photograph. Take it off your driveway where you've got more space and take some proper pictures. Spares and repairs non-runner. That is a Sky Active diesel. I think we all know what's wrong with that. In terms of places to advertise it, like I've said, Autotrader is the best. There are no two ways about it. Autotrader gets more hits than anybody else. But I would also try eBay because you do tend to get some quite genuine people looking on eBay. It can be filled with time wasters like anywhere, but I would say that should be your number 2 option really. Try eBay Motors. I'm not sure I'd waste my time with Facebook Marketplace. It can just be full of scams and dodgy people, so I don't know if I'd recommend that. But certainly eBay, Gumtree and Autotrader. The cost of an eBay advert is about £15 and I wouldn't do it as an auction, I'd do it as a classified advert. Then it'll last for 28 days. So let's say you've done all that, you've created a good advert, you've written a nice description, you've taken some good photographs and it's now advertised. In preparation for that, what I would do is get the spare key, get all the paperwork, get all the brochures, all the receipts, anything like that and put them in a folder. That way when somebody does come to look, it looks like it's nice and organised. People are more inclined to buy a car if it looks like it's been looked after. If it's a mess and there's bits of scraps of paperwork and receipts and all that sort of stuff, I just think it looks a little bit unloved. If you're struggling to find the old paperwork or the MOTs, I would recommend you go online and print off the MOT history. Then at least people can look through that and see that you've got it all there listed. Alternatively, if you've used the same garage every single year, just go and see them and get copies of the receipts. They'll be happy to print off everything that you've had done. It just builds up the story, and that's why a lot of people prefer to go to private sellers, because they're dealing with the owner of the car that knows it inside and out. Once you've gone through all the effort of listing the car and paying for the car advert, do prepare to have your evenings wasted by the general public. There are an awful lot of time wasters out there. But try not to go into each viewing with that same cynicism, because there are some genuine people out there. It might be that you have to kiss a few frogs before you finally find a prince, I guess. One piece of advice, I get asked this all the time. If somebody comes to look at the car and they want to test drive it, I wouldn't let them unless either your insurance covers them or their insurance covers them. Otherwise, they're taking your car out that they haven't paid you for yet, and if they get into an accident, that is still your responsibility. Every person's car insurance policy is different, but for example, yours might cover anybody over the age of 25, so if somebody comes around to test drive it, they might be covered, but check your insurance policy before you allow that. If they don't have insurance but they're adamant they want a test drive, perhaps they could take out temporary cover. You can buy 24-hour cover for, I don't know, 50 quid or something. That might be an option as well. Or another option, for example, is you could drive and just take them out as a passenger. That way they can see it being driven and they know there's no clunks or knocks or bangs. One last thing to mention, make sure you've got cleared funds in your account before they take the car. Don't accept a cheque or a banker's draft, or, well, you can, but make sure it's cleared before you give them the keys. If it's a fairly low value car, then I would just take cash. If it's 1,500 quid or something, I would just take the cash. But if it's dearer, then I'd recommend a bank transfer. Get them to do a chap's payment or something, and that way there's no going back. Once it's in your account, it is yours. I know that might sound obvious, but people can get carried away and I don't want you to get scammed. Once you've done all that, if you're in the market for a new car, then make sure you do a vehicle history check before you agree to buy it. As I mentioned earlier, I always use a company called Car Vertical. You'll get 10% off if you use my promo code, HIGHPEAK. Let me show you an example. So this one, for example, is for sale privately. This is a Vauxhall Astra. It's really easy to use. All you do is go to carvertical.com, type in the vehicle reg or the VIN. In this case, this Astra's reg is DU66 Echo Kilo Whiskey. Check vehicle. Now happily, the Auto Trader advert has already told us that it's a Cat N, so it has been involved in an accident. I suspect it's somewhere on this driver's side because that rear door is a different colour to that rear quarter. Let's see if this Car Vertical report unearths some other information. That's one other point to mention. Put some fuel in it. I always think if you show a picture of the fuel gauge and it's empty, it just looks a bit unloved. Go and stick half a tank of fuel in it. This is currently checking databases in over 30 countries. It checks hundreds of millions of cars. It'll tell us whether it's ever been stolen, written off, had a mileage rollback, or has outstanding finance. And the report's ready, so let's have a look. Right, we've got an amber warning for damage. So we've got the MOT history, that's all fairly consistent. But this vehicle was marked as an insurance write-off. It was written off in February 2019. So it was a Category S write-off, repairable but structural damage. So if you'd like to save yourself 10% off each and every vehicle check that you do, then use my promo code HIGHPEAK. Well, I think that's about it. So thank you once again for watching. I hope that was useful for you, and good luck with selling your car. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. I'll leave the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.